You lot, let's talk Villa, and as you can see by the title, it's the first of many videos coming on the channel this week. We are talking about the massive amount of transfer deals that Aston Villa have made, and we're going to be kicking it off by me going through what I feel like the sale of Douglas Luiz means for Aston Villa. These videos are going to be split into three parts. Firstly, we're going to talk about the stats of the player we are either selling or buying. Then we're going to get into how it affects the team. We're going to go on to a little bit of a tactic board, explain how the players work that we're leaving, the gap that they will leave, and how the players that we're bringing in will work. And then thirdly, go through what I think the deal means for Villa in terms of how good it is for us. Is it clever? Are we losing money, gaining good money, etc, etc? Clearly there's going to be a lot to talk about in the Douglas Luiz deal. The deal's been official. Illing Jr. and Bakarea coming to Aston Villa from Juventus, plus a little €28 million bonus as well, and then Douglas Luiz going to Juventus. Without further ado, someone got annoyed about that, I don't know why. Come on, mate, it's all good stuff. Up the Villa. Let's look at Douglas Luiz's stats. So for this season, Douglas Luiz, 9 goals, 5 assists in 35 games for Aston Villa. He's played 206 games for Villa, getting 22 goals in total. For me, it was his best season in a Villa shirt, and you see there, and we're going to come back to that, his market value currently sits at 72 million, an average rating of 7.28 in the Premier League this season. We look at his stats in the Premier League, and they are, of course, amazing. 9 goals, 4 penalty goals. He was our penalty taker this season. 5 assists, a pass completion rate of 90% off of nearly 1,800 passes, a long ball accuracy of 66%, a cross accuracy of 27%. Defensively, obviously came to Villa as a defensive midfielder, still winning 65% of his tackles, 56% of his aerial duels, making 20 blocks, 184 recoveries, and winning the ball 23 times in the final third. Now, why I think it's his best season to date for Aston Villa, if we just go back last season in the Premier League for Villa, 6 goals, 6 assists, slightly worse on the pass accuracy. He's a player that's just getting better. If we look at the Premier League from a few seasons ago as well, 2 goals, 3 assists, you know, his stats clearly just going up and up and up. He's only 26 years of age, and he is going to leave a massive gap in the Aston Villa midfield. You can see there, plays centre mid and defensive midfield. Came to Villa in 2019 from Manchester City after a loan at Girona. Obviously, we all know how good they're doing nowadays. Starting his career at Vasco da Gama in Brazil, where he currently still plays for their national team. 15 caps, like you can see on the screen. But in terms of how he fits into the team, obviously I've got the team up here on the screen. This is just a general team like what we would usually start in the Premier League last season. I haven't really looked too much into the players in it. It's just more of our system that we play. It's a 4-4-2, and as you can see, they kind of line up originally like that. But we all know, you know, out of possession, our fullbacks tuck in quite a lot. Bailey and Rodgers are asked to tuck in a lot and do a lot of defensive work, and Kamara and Luiz come compact, with McGinn usually floating and Watkins the main outlet up front. So we almost go into a very compact 4-4-2, especially if we want to defend narrow in that medium block there. Then we'll come into that compact tight-knit area, and as you can see by Douglas Luiz's stats from last season, defensively he is an absolute beast. And now in possession is where Douglas Luiz really flourished, and where I think it's going to be really hard to replace him. If I get back to you in just 2 seconds, as you can see on screen, in possession we kind of change things up, and it's a lot more fluid. Digne and Konsa regularly push up and will get on the overlap of their respected wingers. That's something that we've seen a lot. Digne getting a lot of assists from crosses this season. Pau and Carlos will sit. Konsa sometimes will even tuck in like that, allowing, you know, maybe a Luiz to float out. I've seen him pick the ball out up there a lot, or McGinn floats out into those areas. But if we're sticking with the general overlap that they do, Kamara, of course, when he was injured this didn't happen, but he would generally sit and be a bit of a pivot, a bit of an outlet, allowing Luiz to float forward and almost play as like 2-10s with McGinn in behind Watkins. When we have the ball, this is when we have the ball like a lot, when we're heavily pressurising the opposition defence. And then one other thing does happen, that I think Luiz is going to be, again, a massive hole to fill, and I don't know how we fill it. I don't think Baccaria can fill it, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But in transition with the ball, so if we bring everyone back here and act like we're defending, whether it's just defending a set piece or whatever, Kamara usually floats as a bit of a deeper pivot. We'll pop him there. We'll pop Luiz here. Bailey, Rodgers, like I say, they get back on defence. McGinn will get back, and Watkins will stay as a bit of an outlet. But something interesting happens. Say we're defending heavy or we're passing it around the back. The ball will usually come to Carlos or a Pau. Instantly, our fullbacks will look to progress. Consa sometimes stays back, but Digne generally will look to progress up the pitch, link up with Rodgers as Watkins pushes forward. McGinn sometimes does drop deep, but sometimes again he wants to receive the ball here on the half turn. Bailey wants the ball on his feet there so he can get in behind and run at defenders. Kamara, again, he'll sit and almost play these triangles as the pivot with those two, and Luiz is always there to pick up the scraps. Kamara maybe will pull a forward or a midfielder out, and Luiz will receive the ball here. Now, his ability to receive the ball here and spray a pass to Bailey, spray a pass out to Rodgers, ping a ball in behind to Watkins, who will always be playing on the last man and running in behind, or pick the ball up here, beat a man, progress to like here, and then he has options here. McGinn, Rodgers might come in, Digne's here waiting for an overlapping ball, Bailey might cut in or really hug the byline, Watkins will be there waiting. He has these 5 options ahead of him. Kamara will turn again into that pivot here like that. Consa will be there ready for an outlet pass as well, and Luiz will literally have dragged us from here to here with all of these options, and he is the one player in our team really you think of that can, in that position, find the perfect pass. I don't know what I've done there, but that's quite cool with the little arrow. We'll find the perfect pass forward, and that, I think, is what we're going to miss the most with Duggan. So finally, what do I think about the deal? If I pop this tweet from Fabrizio Romano, who's probably the most reliable source of football transfer news in the world right now, on the screen, you can see that in the swap deal with Juventus, Douglas Luiz was valued at around 50 million euros, and this is where my issue with this deal comes into play. We saw Douglas Luiz's market value was around 73 million. Apparently we've been valuing him at 80 to 100 million. We've rejected bids from Arsenal allegedly a couple of seasons ago or a season ago for 70 million. So how it breaks down, you can see on the screen. Enzo, I know I'm going to butcher this name so much, Barenshia. We're going to go for Barenshia. Enzo Barenshia and Samuel Illing Jr. combined are valued at 22 million euros, and then Aston Villa receive a 28 million euro fee. Juventus also have a 10% sell-on clause to each player, so all that means is, say we sign both of those players this season, which we have. Valencia goes on to have a fantastic season for Villa in the Premier League next season. He starts 35 games, gets 3 goals, 8 assists, and is one of the best CDMs in the league. We then receive a bid from Bayern Munich, say, for 60 million euros for him. Then 6 million euros of that deal, because that is 10%, will go back to Juventus, and we will only keep 54. So in the end of the day, it's not a massive deal. There don't seem to be any clauses inserted into Douglas Luiz in terms of sell-on, etc., etc. For him, so it just seems like a straight-up 50 million euro valued swap deal for him. I think it's too little, personally. I just don't see how we could sell a player that I think should be valued around 70 to 80 million, considering Moise Caicedo went to Chelsea for over 100 in a 50 million euro deal. Now, don't get me wrong, there are all the reports in the world about how Villa needed to raise 50 million euros or something of that ilk in player sales before the end of June to pass this 3-year period of FFP/PSR rulings before they reset, and we can go again and we can buy a proper Douglas Luiz replacement. A couple of names have been mentioned that we're going to cover on the channel, so subscribe for that, in July, before the season gets kicked off in August. Obviously, Valencia and Illing Jr., they're not going to be able to fill the void left by Douglas Luiz. He got 10 goals and 10 assists in all competitions for Villa last season. Like I say, he was so crucial to us. We've gone through the tactics, how he progressed the team forward. I would probably bet my hat on him being top of Aston Villa's progressive passing distance metrics last season, and probably progressive dribbling. He's in the top 5 easily of our starting lineup last year. He was almost playing like a bit of a captain at points for us. Yes, he did have a slight fall off when Kamara got injured. He does work best with an out-and-out CDM next to him. That is no doubt whatsoever. But I'm really, really sad to see him go. He signed for us when we got promoted to the Premier League. I'm pretty sure, did he score in his debut? Was that against Bournemouth, I want to say, or something like that? He scored an absolute perler on like his first or second appearance for Villa, and he's been nothing short of fantastic for us. Watching him develop as a player has been an absolute joy, and I wish him all the best at Juventus. Look, I didn't want him to go. He's a player that I thought would have been really, really good for us going forward into the Champions League era that hopefully Villa are in now. But again, there was those background rumblings of him wanting to leave and not signing a new contract. So in the end of the day, we've managed to skirt around FFP. We've got 28 million. We have got 2 players for the price of 1 per se, and there's a lot of hype around Valencia and Illing Jr. as well. Of course, videos on those 2 will be coming on the channel this week, so be sure to subscribe. I don't know why I went like that for that. Be sure to subscribe. I can speak English, I promise. Like the video for more Aston Villa content. The sort of interaction on the channel over the last week or so has been absolutely insane. I'm working as hard as I can to get all of these videos out. The overall rating, I'll rate all. You know what? We'll rate all of these deals before we stop. The rating for the Douglas Luiz deal for me gets a 5 out of 10, purely because it has the potential to be a lot higher. I've seen a lot of people complaining a lot about it, but if we revisit this video in 2 seasons' time and Barrencha and Illing Jr. are some of the best players in the league, we'll be looking at it thinking we've had Juventus' pants down. If Illing Jr. and Barrencha are terrible for Villa and end up being sold in a couple of seasons, Juventus have had our pants down. So I'll see you in a couple of years, Juventus fans, but I think you might have got the better end of the deal so far. Villa fans, comment down below, what do you think about this deal? It gets a 5 from me. I wish Douglas Luiz all the best. Let's talk about Illing Jr. and Barrencha in my next video, shall we?